Well, it's finally happening. The FBI has started arresting judges for obstructing immigration enforcement, not only with a big arrest here, right here in Wisconsin, but also a judge stepping down in Arizona. We have George Santos sentenced to almost 6 years in prison, and a lot more to talk about as Trump. We're starting to finally see some results, some movement here, and in hopes that cash is going to do something, because a lot of us are getting impatient. So Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan was arrested by the FBI today for obstructing an immigration arrest. According to FBI Director Kash Patel, Judge Dugan misdirected federal agents away from Eduardo Flores Ruiz, an undocumented migrant, allowing him to initially evade arrest. The incident took place last week, and although Ruiz was later apprehended, Judge Dugan faces obstruction charges and should, right? I'm going to guess that this judge was probably, getting his little slam piece or something like that. You see here, FBI Director Kash Patel, we believe Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents. I mean, just look at her. No, I know. I mean, look at her. Just look. Don't look away. Don't look away. Look at her. Now stop looking at her. So Kash Patel wrote, FBI arrested Judge Hannah Dugan out of Milwaukee for obstruction. We believe Dugan intentionally misdirected federal agents away from the subject to be arrested in her courthouse. Thankfully, our agents chased down the perp on foot, and he's been in custody ever since. I don't know where these judges got so, so stupid. Maybe they've always been this corrupt. And again, I am getting a little impatient. I want more arrests, more stuff done here. You see the judge obviously wearing her face diaper, and then putting a face diaper on her statue there. This is the kind of arrests we want. Judge Juan Cano, by the way, Judge Hannah Dugan, both arrested by the FBI in the past 24 hours. So if we go to Cano, this is another activist judge that was arrested for trying to screw around with deportations. I don't really understand why these people think that this is going to work. Here we have Judge Juan Cano and his wife arrested by federal authorities after they harbored a TDA gang member at their home. What were they thinking? They're a judge, so they just think they're above the law? Here's the video of the arrest. Ha 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 ha. Hope your left ear enjoys it. What do these people think? That Joe Biden is still president? I mean, this is exactly good. These gang members were staying at the judge's home, and the wife doesn't. And does he have a wife and kids? I mean, I'm guessing the wife was probably, getting, I'm sure there was some other stuff going on there. Of course, Letitia James possibly coming up next. Here we have another Democrat judge in New Mexico steps down after man with alleged trendy Aragua, I don't really care, gang found at his home. This is probably Cano. So he stepped down, but we always knew there was going to be more to this. He was going to get arrested. Now Wisconsin judges are getting arrested. I think many more arrests are probably on the way and should be on the way because these dorks, they're not above the law. Now, also in the news, Trump is getting really tired of little Z and probably Vladimir. And I don't blame him. Trump has said Crimea will stay with Russia as he seeks to end the war in Ukraine. Now, whether or not you agree or disagree with that, I don't agree with what Russia did. I don't agree with what Ukraine did. I wish I didn't have an opinion on it because I wish I wasn't paying for it. But now out of Kiev, U.S. President Donald Trump has said in an interview published Friday that Crimea will stay with Russia, the latest example of the U.S. leader pressuring Ukraine to make concessions to end the war while it remains under siege. Zelensky understands that, Trump said, referring to Volodymyr Zelensky. And everybody understands that it's been with them for a long time. Trump has made comments in the Time magazine interview conducted on Tuesday where Trump had been accusing Zelensky of prolonging the war by resisting negotiations with President Vladimir Putin. We don't know what's being said in these interviews. I would say it maybe isn't him just resisting these things. It may be simply that he doesn't agree with the terms that are being presented to him. That's entirely possible. Trump has made these comments. The war could be approaching a pivotal moment as Trump administration weighs its options. Senior U.S. officials have warned that the administration could give up attempts to stop the war if the two sides do not come to a settlement. That could potentially mean a halt of crucial U.S. military aid to Ukraine. Well, I mean, hey, look, Europe keeps saying that, America is supposed to keep doing this. So, Europe can fund it. I don't have anything against Ukrainians. I don't have anything against Russians. I don't care for either one of their leaders. They've had their submarines there for long before any period we're talking about for many years. They're just talking about Crimea. The people there largely speak Russian. I think at this point, Trump just wants this over and done with. And I don't know who could blame him for this. The American people, the taxpayers, have had more than enough of paying for all of this. Now on to the George Santos situation. George Santos has been sentenced to 87 months. So what is that, 5, 6, almost 7 years. 7 years in prison. That seems like a pretty harsh charge. If he's going to get 6, 7 years in prison, then, no, it's more than 7 years, isn't it? For that amount of sentencing, I mean, Letitia James should probably get cooked too. Representative George Santos of New York was sentenced to 87 months this morning for felony fraud charges. He pled guilty to charges in August and was expelled from the House in December. These are pretty significant charges. I mean, I don't really, I think I don't have any affiliation in terms of, if you're a fraudulent politician, I want you to get charged. Will he get pardoned by Trump? I don't think so. I really don't think so. I mean, ultimately, there's some questions here about, okay, if we're going to start charging Republicans, then we better have that same energy when it gets to, Letitia James and Democrats and things of that nature. Ex-GOP Congressman George Santos sentenced to 87 months in prison in federal fraud case. 36-year-old representative served Congress for close to a year before being ousted in 2023. Santos had not yet been convicted of the crime at that point, but had been indicted in 23 counts related to wire fraud, identity theft, falsification of records, credit card fraud, and other charges. Now, hopefully, this level of justice is coming to people like Letitia James. Santos sobbed as he received a sentence, according to the Associated Press. U.S. District Court Judge Joanna Siebert asked Santos during his sentencing, "Where is your remorse? Where do I see it?" She continued on to say that it appears he felt it was always someone else's fault. Santos is expected to arrive in prison by July 26th. Today, George Santos was finally held accountable for his mountain of lies, theft, and fraud he perpetrated. I mean, he pled guilty to it. I assume that, I assume that he's not going to do anywhere near that amount of time, but he's going to federal, pound me in the rear prison. So I'm sure the libs are very, very excited about this. More information about Judge Cano, by the way. Apparently, he was setting up his daughter to date the criminal alien. They were thick as thieves. New Mexico also passed a law to allow non-citizens to become cops. Yeah, I mean, interesting situation. Now, that other judge, by the way, the Milwaukee judge, has already been released, but on bond, so that doesn't really necessarily mean anything. Obviously, she's not a flight risk, probably. but she's going to lose her position on the bench, one would imagine. The federal government is not seeking her detention. A preliminary hearing and arraignment is set for May 15th. Dugan, a circuit court judge in Milwaukee County, was arrested by the FBI, accusing of her obstruction. I don't really know if, as long as she's off the bench, that's definitely a win for me. There seems like there's a lot of these activist judges, and they don't appear to have kind of this America First ideology. They kind of seem more interested in, being activists. Going back to the Russia-Ukraine deal, by the way, Trump has now said that the deal is pretty close. Trump, while departing the White House on his way to Rome for Pope Francis' funeral, told reporters, I think we're pretty close to a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine. The president said that U.S. representatives, including Steve Witkoff, were meeting with Putin literally right now as we speak and have a lot of good things going on. I think in the end, we're going to end up with a lot of good deals, including tariff deals and trade deals. Whether he had a deadline to reach the deal, the president said no. I just want it as fast as possible. I mean, I would think most people would agree with that. I just done paying for it. I don't care if they war forever. I think it's better for both sides, for Slavic men and women, to not have this war continue. But my selfish opinion is if they want to continue to war, then they should be paying for it. Joe Biden promising Zelensky NATO is outrageous. That's not going to happen. So hopefully we can see this resolved later today. So that's kind of the bundle of updates for what's going on with Trump and his team. All seem good and positive, and we'll talk to you again real soon.